International Labor Day, depending on where you are, is May Day in Ghana, is Workers' Day across the world. And the reflection of the International Labour Organization is on work safety and health at work 2021. You can really understand why. And their theme is anticipate, prepare, and respond to crisis, invest now in resilient occupational safety and health systems. That is what the International Labour Organization wants us to reflect on because of the shadow of COVID that is still persisting. So that is what we are talking about. I have a statement that is a copious statement issued by the Socialist Forum of Ghana. I would just like to run through before I take brief views from my panel for today and introduce the topic we are running on the show. This is titled, actually dated 30th April 2021, titled Socialist Forum of Ghana 2021 May Day Statement, Workers of Ghana Unite. And the statement reads, on May Day 2021, the Socialist Forum of Ghana salutes working people everywhere for the tenacity of struggle that continues to point the way to a brighter future for all mankind, despite the many existential challenges driven by greed and recklessness of the global capitalist class, inequity, hunger, disease, climate disaster, to name just a few. Unionized workers manned the front line of our national liberation struggle with their participation in the industrial strikes of 1948 and positive action in 1950s and other manifestations. Unions achieved the Industrial Relations Act of 1958 and 1965, the Social Security Act of 1965, the right to strike, maternity leave for women, and equal pay for equal work for all working people irrespective of gender. The TUC of the immediate post-independence era sponsored thousands of Ghanaian students abroad to acquire various specialties, skills, and qualifications which enhance the human resource base of our country. Today, we appeal to our working class comrades in Ghana to commit to strategic internationalist class unity and to heighten struggle. We are struggling in a new liberal economy that brings unemployment and export jobs abroad, and that uses macroeconomic indicators like inflation to erode further the miserable and poor conditions of service of the working people of Ghana. This is the condition for the working class to resume leadership of Ghana's progressive movement. We call on union leaders to extend a true hand of brotherhood to each other and overcome the historical, organizational, and bureaucratic differences that have led to a fragmented labor front. Union divisionism today is a tactical victory for our exploiters. It must be reversed. Constitutional freedom of assembly must be used strategically to strengthen rather than weaken our cause. Together, our unions can expand their ranks and organize to protect all the sections of working class whose pay, living conditions, leisure, and social security have been savagely attacked by outsourcing and casualization schemes blessed by government. United workers can fully engage all the sections of the working class whose supposed self-employment and independence is a ruse that allows capital to exploit them more intensely, forcing them to engage with corporations as relatively powerless individuals rather than as collectives of technical workers, in the process to lose some of the gains that workers have secured through decades of relentless struggle. Let me just jump to the last two lines that concludes the statement. And it says that on this occasion, we remind ourselves of the gallant struggles of the workers of Chicago, USA, on May 3, 1886, which provided the inspiration for the declaration of May 1 as International Workers' Day. We pledge to follow in the heroic traditions of these courageous workers and assure that their sacrifices and the sacrifices of all workers engaged in the struggle against imperialism will not be in vain. SFG stands with the workers of Ghana in their quest to build a fairer and more prosperous world. We believe in the possibility of a world where work is not a source of misery and exploitation by a tiny global elite, but of pride and fulfillment for all. We believe as a matter of history that this state of society can only be achieved by the political mobilization of working people. In the immortal words of Communist Manifesto, we, quote, workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. Long live the working people of the world. Long live the working people of Ghana. Long live May Day. And that's signed by Justice Henako, who is he signed for the convener of the Socialist Forum of Ghana. So that's coming from the Socialist Forum There are several statements that I believe will be issued across the day, marking today. And let me start the show before I even come to the topics we are discussing today. Let me introduce my panel first. I have three panelists available. Will be joined briefly by one of them. What I'll do is that let me introduce my panel. I have Alhaji Alhaji. One of the reasons they call this show Alhaji Alhaji. The other one has passed. He's member of parliament for Sanyarugu constituency in the northern region. We are also joined by Gabriela Tete, who is a member of the NDC's communication team. We are joined by Mr. Kwesi Prajina, who is managing editor of the Insight newspaper, and then George A.C., who is director of communications for NADMO, also a member of the NPP's communication team. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we are talking about May Day before moving on to the issue of Galamsey and the return of soldiers to the fight against those activities.
To lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him, Ghana showboy, Africa's great son, Sergeant Dr. Nkrumah. He has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom.
Alhaji and Alhaji, we are live on Pan-African television. Thanks for making time. This morning, we are discussing that statement that's been issued by the Information Ministry, sending back workers to the Galamsey site. They said they are particularly focused on mining on our river bodies. We'll spend some time on that, and then we'll spend some time talking about Martin Amidu's thoughts on the special prosecutor nominee. We understand the AG has officially written a letter to the president recommending the appointment of lawyer Kisie Jabing as a new special prosecutor. Martin Amidu has some very interesting thoughts on him. We'll discuss that, and then if we still have time, we'll spend some time talking about the thoughts of Mr. Sir Sam Jonah, actually, who has been speaking about the state of Ghana and has gotten a lot of people talking. But before we do that, let's share some quick thoughts on today, because today is International Labor Day, especially. I'll start with Alhaji Alhaji. Good morning.
Good morning, Sana. Let me say good morning to Comrade Kwesi Pratt, my sister, and Comrade the Sagal, and the patriot in quotes, the technical people of Pan-Africa TV, and of course the listeners, the viewers of Pan-Africa out there, and of course the Brichina people of the Sanyarugu constituency. I want to salute them on this very important day, a day in the annals of world history where the collective strength of the working people has been brought to bear to recognize changes across the length and breadth, where international capital thrives on the labor, and yet the gains that accrue are not equitably shared. And that is why the struggle has intensified in various parts of the world to get just reward for the working people. I can only bring it down here. And the motto of international working class has always been workers of the world, unite. Because it is in the collective unity of working people that their strength and their bargaining rights can be asserted to let them wrench. Because you see, the capitalist does not give free and willing benefits that accrue from labor to the working people. It has to be the product of a collective hard struggle. And so anywhere the working class is torn into fragments, is divided, is hopelessly unable to inspire the rank and file to come together, you find out that their living conditions deteriorate. They get worse. And bringing it down here, while I want to salute the working people of this country as part of the general salute to the working people across the world, I regret to say that the current leadership of the working class represented by the TUC, for me, has been a disappointment, in all honesty. If you see the working conditions of many workers across various enterprises in the country, my brother, it's not much to write home about. And I am particularly appalled by recent developments where the leadership of the TUC and others are not able to speak for the working people, are not able to let their strength reflect in key decision-making processes. For instance, I'm talking about a budget that we just approved in Parliament. You ask yourself, what was the input of the representatives of the working class, the TUC? We had so many things going up. Indeed, new taxes, 8 new taxes were imposed. And in fact, when I was just coming, fuel prices had been increased and gone up again. Within the last 2 weeks, it went up again about 2 weeks, and it's gone up again. And it's going to go up again. And in fact, there are issues even we intend to interrogate, whether even some of those increases are legal, because no approval of any such prices can be taken without recourse to Parliament. So I know that Parliament, there were some issues that were involved in the budget among the 8,000 I just mentioned. But there are certain increases that are taken at the level of the MPA and others, which, for me, need to come before Parliament for approval. So, Senator, while you have had all this, the cumulative effect of which will be that it is going to erode the standard of living of the ordinary worker. Because, as we speak, there is no determined national minimum wage. As we speak. So while everything is going up, Senator, the wages and salaries of workers is for the time being is frozen, because no new minimum wage has been determined, and there's clear need for an upward adjustment to meet the current escalating regime of price increases across board, whether you are talking about lorry fares, rent, school fees. Talk of everything is on the rise, and compare that to the stagnant income of working people. So I remember, for instance, that in 2016, a bag of maize sold for about 70 Ghana cedis. Today we are talking about 250 Ghana cedis or more. So compare the worker whose income is static. How is he going to make ends meet? And what input, like I said, did he have into the making of the budget, for which his interest will also be catered for? And so today, a wedge has been planted between the leadership of the working people and the rank and file of the workers. And that, for me, is a very, very sad commentary on the need to unite the forces of the working class and prosecute a regime of championing the interests of the working people for better remuneration and conditions of service. Senator, it's not materializing. That, for me, is the biggest challenge and predicament of the working people in this country. And so I don't know how that in the interim can be addressed. Today I know we can conveniently hide behind coronavirus, the pandemic, as an excuse for not celebrating the day where workers would have had the opportunity to vent their spleen. And I can tell you that, Senna, if the workers were going to march today, you would have, the things you would have heard. My brother, I shudder to think what even the leadership itself would have had to take on board. But that is to tell you the frustration within the working people of this country. And so for me, on this day, why I would want to salute the working people, I think it's almost a funeral announcement that their conditions are not anything to write home about. And not just the conditions, but what is being done, even at the level of their leadership, to champion their interests and aspirations. It's a long way from being realized. And that for me is a serious matter of concern that needs to be taken on board. So, that's my brief comment on it.
Thank you, Alhaji. Alhaji.
Good morning to you. Good morning to the viewers. Good morning to the senior comrade, Mr. Pratt. My co-panelists. Is this an honor to be on your platform again, the second time, Alhaji and Alhaji. And as I said the other time, it's always an honor to get the opportunity on whatever platform to speak to the Ghanaian people on the policies and programs of my government. So, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, Labor Day, it started somewhere around, the first one was celebrated in 1890 by the socialist parties in Europe, after some agitations. And before then, in 1886, the United States workers had demanded for an 8-hour work. You get it? So it had ignited agitations across the United States and then to Europe and was moving. So on the 1st of May, they decided, 1890, they decided to have the first celebration. And thereafter, a lot of things has gone in till today. The Ghana Labor Union has been one of the vibrant fronts. In fact, I'm happy Uncle Pratt is here in the struggle for democracy. They played their parts, the trades union. Most solid people have been there. I've forgotten some name, but I remember one of the powerful general secretaries of the TUC. It is true, as the Honorable Alhaji said, today we don't seem to be hearing of them as vibrant as it used to be. Okay, and more especially this year because we predicted it, and I agree. Because of COVID, we cannot come together to celebrate these days. It's marked with march past by workers, especially in the industrial areas, sector, then other education, the banking sector, all of them with their peculiar placards, okay, with inscriptions and with depicting or allegedly depicting the workers' state in the democracy as of the time. Okay, so for instance, like today, you'll be getting messages that are reflecting the workers' situation today, okay, under the government. So whether true or false, whether right or wrong, it is their right to so say that this is what I'm feeling as of today under the government of His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. But unfortunately, COVID is here. There's one of the protocols being social distancing and all that. And so it's not proper to mass people to a place to have a match. That is unfortunate. We all pray that we'll be able to overcome COVID and its spread. The vaccines have come. We're yet to get the next consignment for the next phase to go. Those who have had their first injections. And so we are hoping and praying that the vaccines will be effective and will be able to help overcome the spread of COVID. amongst the people, you know. We have developed immunities to it. That's the essence of vaccines. Okay, so we all pray that we get to that point, and then we'll come back to our normal life, where we can have the celebration of independence. We can have the celebration of May Day and others to make progress. Again, the issue of when May Day comes, the issues of economy is brought into the perspective. It's very important. He touched on minimum wage, which is important. The minimum wage is one of the achievements of the labor unions, okay? To get employers and government to sit at the table to determine the wages of workers. And it's been accepted, and almost every year they sit down to determine the ensuing year's minimum wage. I understand in November of last year, they had about some meetings as to whether, I understand there was some 10 or 11% something that is not been effected yet. I stand to be corrected anyway, but I thought I read something like that. But it's not reflected yet in workers' salaries. And so if it's not conclusive, that 10 or 11% was not conclusive to be implemented, then maybe they need to fast track it, and then let's begin to have the dividends thereof. The issue of pricing, we in Ghana have accepted that we're going to have a deregulated market, okay? If as far as the oil sector is concerned, there's deregulation. And so what it means is that as the price hike or go up, you know, there's commensurate adjustments. As the prices in the international market fall, there's commensurate adjustment, okay? But panelists will agree that when it's the converse, it becomes a bit of a challenge. You get it? We've had the situations where, you know, we've had the price coming down, yet we had to hold on a bit because we thought we had incurred a lot of debts when the prices escalated. Okay, so we need to make up for that, and we paid the price seriously in 2008 for such thing. And President Kufuor meant very well that no, the price hiked up to about 147. It's come down to about $30 or so. And should we just reduce it and go? He said, no, let's make up for the lost margins, okay? And we paid the price. And the second round, we had to reduce. I wasn't too happy on those decisions for my party, but we paid the price ultimately. And then there was change of power. So a deregulated market is something that we have come to live with. That's why we have the OMCs and others. You know, they also factor in their net, you know, cost in importing. Unfortunately for us in the petroleum industry, I don't know whether it's changed. We are importing finished products a lot, and it's not the best for us. Maybe some may disagree with us, especially when we have toll. Are we putting it to maximum use? Okay, and some have asked me, George, now we have Jubilee fields here, right? We mine crude here, and still we're importing finished products. Why are we not refining them? And the argument had been, I stand to be corrected again, the argument had been that, you know, our toll does not have the capacity to refine the crude we have from Jubilee fields. If it's true, then what are we doing to get it in sync to be able to refine our products? Or if there's an agreement with international bodies, oil producers that produce the kind that our toll can refine. So we do some barter trading. We send our crude and they bring us theirs, and then we are able to refine it because maybe their machines can refine ours. Then we can have a good pricing regime in our country, because it's sometimes we have made the argument when we were in opposition. I was one of the vociferous guys who were saying, come on, how can we be having drilling crude in our own country and still be importing refined? I was serious, you know, seriously against it. And so if it's still happening, I cannot have the leeway to say it is right. It cannot be right. We need to be taking policy decisions that will ensure that TOR is operating at its maximum capacity and will be able to either refine ours or get crude refined here to bid down the price. There are other materials, finished products that you get out of refining crude. here. You get it? And this government is zoned a hub in the Zima area. Is about 20,000 hectares hub for industrialization of issues relating to petroleum products, petrochemical industry, fertilizer, and coal. It's been zoned, and work is ongoing. So we wish the Ghanaian worker today, happy Workers' Day. It doesn't matter what challenges we are facing as workers. We all wish we could be paid more than what we are taking, right? But what is important too is for the managers of the economy to be able to manage the economy so efficiently that cost of doing business and cost of production and cost of food items and others can be, stabilized. You get it? And that is good. And on that, I can say, yes, this government is doing well in terms of inflation, okay? When you check the index on food inflation and other inflations and co, it's not doing bad. It's not doing bad. And so we can zoom in on that. But there's more to be done. As teachers, as a teacher, I would say more room for improvement. You get it? So that's what we tell our students and government and our workers. Let's continue as workers to support government to attain the objective for which we set out. And then fortunately, the Ghanaian people have given us 4 more to do more. We're just coming from election. While listening to the Honorable A.D.F. Husseini, the provost man, this morning, it's as if we are yet to go into an election. We're just coming from an election, and our mandate has been renewed. It doesn't also mean that he shouldn't say it when he thinks it's not right. That's why we have the 2 major parties and other parties. And so let's continue to work in tandem, in partnership, to ensure a good and better environment for the Ghanaian worker and every Ghanaian, whether in the private sector or in the public sector. Interest rate is coming down for business people. It's a fact. You cannot run away from that. It averaged about 33% as of the time they were exiting office. Today is around 22%. You cannot gloss over that. Okay, in doing business. COVID has come. It's affected a lot of things. We'll be talking, when we talk about the Honorable Knight's Sam Jones matter, you see that, matters of the economy will come or play. They will put it in proper. The Ghanaian going for come back to to celebrate the day and speak our mind to governments, okay? And government also comes to respond, at such fora, Sometimes it's been heated. If you look at the placards, sometimes it even changes the speech of the leader, the president. You get it? When you look at the placards, you don't have a choice but to speak to some of them. You get it? And straighten things. It's all good, and that's what helps us as a people to live in unity and harmony. It's part of our differences, right? I can post, then Madam's house is just, we all have the same neighborhood. We belong to different places. So I wish our Ghanaians a happy Workers' Day today. Thank you.
Sana, if I wasn't facing the realities of this another government, in fact, I would have almost accepted this to be the truth, but unfortunately, it doesn't reflect on my reality. Let me say a good morning to my senior comrades. A good morning to you as well. Nice seeing you again. To our technical team, a good morning to our viewers, our listeners, those watching us on social media, all 22,000 of you who end up watching the show eventually. If I've missed anybody, please forgive me. Let me also wish a happy May Day to all Ghanaian workers. Indeed, my fellow colleagues have said a lot about the labor unions and the importance and the things that they've been able to achieve for the working class. In Ghana here, at least we can boast of a social security scheme, we can boast of a health insurance scheme, we can boast of paid maternity leave. If NDC had one power, would have gotten paternity leave as well to complement maternity leave. And also kindergartens in workplaces to support females with new babies who are working. Labor issues, let me jump to George and then I'll come and talk about a few things on the labor front. I don't know if George realizes that the increase in the fuel at the pump today is not about deregulation, but it's from taxation. LPP promised us we were going to production from taxation, and now here we are being compounded with more taxation. We know that increase in fuel affects every single item in this country, from the clothes we wear to the food we eat to our moving up and down, even to go and earn a living is affected by fuel prices. Government increased this 1% NHIL tax, which on top of that is also going to affect our data and our airtime. When I load my data, I don't know what happens to the data. The thing runs like tap water. And then imagine with 1% taxes again. Now they're not going to see that thing top.
But the enemies have announced that they will pass.
Yes, they've already sent us messages. They're starting from 1st May. It's reflecting on airtime and data as well. So, I mean, there's always this multiplier effect in the economy whenever there's increase in fuel, in gas. There's a government policy to try and do away with charcoal and bush burning and fire and all these things. Now here we are increasing taxes on LPG, which eventually becomes, the product becomes too expensive. We'll find people going back to charcoal and firewood, and it will defeat the purpose for us trying to save on the environment and shifting to LPG. The government is in need of money, and Akufo-Addo's government, in fact, they devour so much money that anything they will get their hands on that is taxable, that they can make something out of, rest assured that they will tax it. Very soon, they will tax the water we drink, the air we breathe. They'll soon find a value for it and tax us in addition. Ghanaian workers, I mean, they didn't get the opportunity to march today because of COVID. I think that's a blessing to Nana Akufo-Addo. This morning, he would have seen a lot of placards. Excellency, we are suffering. Tall workers, we are this. Endless. But let me say that we're all aware that things are not going that easy for Ghanaian workers. And in every country, when you want to maximize productivity, you motivate your team, your workers, your people. And more often than not, for us, as government, we're always looking at how to increase revenues, to do all kinds of projects and programs, many of which ends up in corruption, and those projects don't even get to see the light of day. Most of them are just pipe dreams, especially with Akufo-Addo's government. Now, here we are with the last budget that was read. Public sector workers, there was no provision for salary increment for public sector workers. And if you remember, there was a huge debate when the budget was read. The government was saying that they had to go to the negotiation table to agree on something with government. At least we would have seen some contingency within the budget to factor in some percentage increase. It was just 10%. That wasn't provided for. So I don't know if the 10-11% that George was making reference to is in line with this, because as for the budget, we know that provision wasn't made for it. And now here we are with cost of living going to go up. Ghanaian workers, everybody just has to adjust our belts like we were doing from the time of President Kufuor and pray for a better day. Hopefully, God willing, and I know that in 2024, when the NDC comes back to power, we, as comrades in the labor struggle and welfare struggle, will do well to make sure that the Ghanaian people and the Ghanaian workers are put at the center of all our policies and programs, and will seek their interest and the betterment of all.
Thank you. Thank you. But today's May Day. is a day of solidarity with the working people of the world who are engaged in struggles for the improvement of their living and working conditions. And it's important to recognize that today takes its inspiration from what happened in Chicago in May 1884. It was in May 1884 that the working people of Chicago rallied together and struggled for the limitation of workers' working hours. Before then, there were no limitations to working hours, and employers could exploit the labor of the working people for as long as they wish. Indeed, some working people were working for more than 12 hours a day. And it is these struggles of the workers of Chicago which led to the limitation of working hours. Now, it is important also to recognize that many working people were killed as a result of the strikes that they started. Union leaders were killed. They made tremendous sacrifices in order to move the working people of the world one step further. Today is not a day for happiness. We cannot be wishing workers Happy May Day. What is the basis of wishing workers Happy May Day? Today is not a day for happiness. Today is the day on which we should renew our commitment to bitter struggles. Struggles which will change the status quo. Struggles which will bring about meaningful improvements in the living and working conditions of working people of this country. Over the last couple of years, there have been significant reversals in the gains of the working people of Ghana. In 1958, the Nkrumah government passed the Industrial Relations Act, which was improved with the 1965 Industrial Relations Act. The Industrial Relations Act of 1965 guaranteed the right of workers to strike, including the right to organize solidarity strikes and so on. Over the last couple of years, the right to organize solidarity strikes has been undermined. It's important that we go back and intensify the struggle for the right of workers to organize solidarity strikes. The fragmentation in the labor front is the result of tinkering with the Industrial Relations Act. Before, the TUC represented all 17 national unions, but under some tinkering and so on, today, you have all kinds of splintering in the front of labor, which is not in the interest of the working people. The working people themselves must strive for the unity of their front, for uniting their front, and for waging in struggles which expand their liberties and so on. Not too long ago, an Accra High Court gave a judgment in which it said employers are not under any obligation to give reasons for sacking workers. This decision clearly undermined trade union rights. And I want to see the day when leaders of the trade union movement will test this decision of the Accra High Court in a superior court and organize agitations to ensure that the rights that workers gained are not whittled away under any guise. There's a lot more struggle ahead of Ghanaian workers. The national economic situation is getting worse, with dire consequences for the working people. Today, we are being told of the astronomical increases in petroleum prices. It will affect the price of everything, affect everything that we do in this country. Today, we have come to a conjuncture in our history where more than 90% of total revenues plus grants is expended on public sector emoluments, debt repayment, and debt servicing. This is not where the working people of Ghana want this country to be. And to reverse this situation will call for massive struggles and dedication to the cause of the working people. The cause of the working people, which has been pursued throughout history by the forces of socialism.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And of course, we at Pan African TV and our various affiliate stations stand with the working class today because we are strong members of it. I'll come to you, Alhaji, and Alhaji, whatever you start for me on this issue. Okay, I think, okay, let me just start with you. Let me just start with you. So we are moving on to the topics we've tabled for today. The first one has to do with the issue of the return of soldiers to the various mining sites. Once again, we are back to a start of the fight against illegal mining or all forms of irresponsible mining. Alhaji.
Yeah, Sana, I just wanted to make a small point. Borrowing Comrade Price small point on the issue that we just discussed. In the light of today's reality of the pandemic on our hands, because we are talking about jobs, the basis of survival of the working people is jobs. Not only getting, but sustaining the jobs in which they earn their living. And it is clear to us that in the face of this pandemic, a lot has happened to many working people. In addition to some other reckless policies of government, including the so-called banking reforms and others that they undertook that sent so many people home. In the face of this COVID, Senna, governments everywhere, even including the most capitalist government on the face of this earth, the US, President Biden came up with almost $2 trillion. I'm talking of $2 trillion package. Not just the one on infrastructure. There have been a number of them to help businesses and others that have felt the ravages of this COVID-19. So you can see that even in places where they shy away from undertaking social interventions to protect the most vulnerable, the disadvantaged in society. So who are the working people? Even in the most capitalist place in the US, something of that sort is being done. Now look at here. We had a situation where government was supposed to initiate packages to help our businesses. My brother, go and see the implementation of that. It was subject to partisan politics. Indeed, some of it was even distributed, they said, to even party apparatchiks. And the businesses that were supposed to take it and develop and keep working people in their workplaces did not get it. So you go to NDSSI and others who are supposed to be the people to implement that. You see that it's shambolic. So consequently, it has not registered that impact that it should have made on the lives of the working people. And that is the point that I wanted to make clearly. Now, Senna, you are talking about government returns soldiers to mining areas. First and foremost, I want to find out when the soldiers had even left mining areas. I watched a documentary, I think, on Joy FM. And they went to these mining sites. And in the mining sites were soldiers and other security people protecting galamseyers. And I was asking myself that if we are not in a banana republic and we are in a law and order society, if soldiers were officially withdrawn, what were soldiers doing at that place? And if soldiers were there, who authorized or gave permission for them to be where they were? And if they were not authorized to be there, and they have been found to be there, what has happened? So now there are more questions. But first and foremost, to just get to the basic issue of the fight against galamsey, illegal mining, so-called. Go back to the 2016 election, in which the Nana Akufo-Addo campaign, at that time candidate Nana Akufo-Addo, it's a double-edged campaign. On the one hand, that President Mahama has not fought the galamsey menace enough. That when given the mandate to steer the affairs of the state, they will come up with a comprehensive strategy to deal with illegal mining, protect our forests, protect our water bodies, and others. Then on the campaign trail, a separate argument came up. We will make sure that we protect your jobs. When he was talking to the galamseyers. And so you have a twin track policy, so to speak. One promising to fight the menace, another one promising to protect the menace. So now, bringing it into government, this is the dual contradictory policy that MPP government has pursued. On the one hand, it is pretending to fight galamsey. On the other hand, it is protecting the galamseyers. Sana, how can you blow to the candle fire when your mouth is full of water? This is the policy that has led us to where we are today. You remember, President Nana Akufo-Addo said, my tea is not very good. Permit me. Those who are Akan-speaking people. What does that mean to galamseyers? That when the NDC went to make campaign and indicate that their business should be shut down, he's not the one to come and spoil their jobs. So what does, because it begins with that commitment from government. And that commitment stemming from the political will of the president will then translate into policy. Will then translate into policy, and then the policy implementation will then include, among others, like the deployment of the soldiers that we are talking about. So if you don't have the political will, and I say here, without any iota of hesitation, that President Nana Akufo-Addo never had any commitment to fight galamsey. He only saw it as a convenient tool for using it to ride on the backs of galamseyers to power and do something else. It is public pressure today as a result of the devastating effects of galamsey, including international pressure. I'm sure you've heard even an international coalition against even exploitation of this in forest reserves. And the pressure they are mounting on Ghana, including trying to ask that even the bauxite and others, the products should be boycotted and all those other actions that are coming up. But it is as a result of this and the hue and cry in the country about the pollution of our water bodies. Today, Sana, we have already been told, and that man is a matter of public knowledge, that if care is not taken, in the next few years coming, Ghana will be a net importer of water. Today, go to all our river bodies. The color is like coffee. People are different types of, some say tea, coffee, beverage. Waters which look very clean and sparkling a few years back. Today have all, as it were. So, Sana, our first problem is the policy pretense on fighting galamsey, which demonstrably has not exhibited any commitment from government. Secondly, Sana, the practitioners, the perpetrators of this illegal act Many of them, Senna, are top MPP notch apparatchiks. Senna, if you go back to the aftermath of the disastrous outing of the interministerial mining, Ministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, I'm sure you remember that. Among which where the Charles BC issue came up. And the president himself, as a leader, had given a commitment when he was in opposition that he was going to adopt the ANAS principle to fight Galamsey. I'm sure you can recall that. And when ANAS made available to the president graphic evidence of corruption, nothing came out of it. Beyond maybe Charles BC say he will step down from the office. And that was it. Since then, nobody heard anything. No action was taken against anybody. To the Minister of Environment himself, when Kowusi, I think he was the vice chairman, you can remind me, vice chairman of Central Region MPP, they leaked a Kowusi tips. When a meeting was held in the minister's office, and in fact, crime, because I'll call it criminal, a government can say that party Hiasika, you remember? Where they agreed that party Hiasika, so because party Hiasika, they should go and do Galamsey to get the Sika. So if government's policy is to regard that type of money as illegal, and a minister is meeting people to take a decision on how they can facilitate party apparatchiks to go and do Galamsey and make money for the party, is the party not engaging in criminal conduct? That on the surface, the government is pretending, has described that activity as illegal. And yet, at the level of the minister and where the implementation takes place, they need to plot to see how they can empower their supporters and members to go and do Galamsey. So, Sana, if you bring anti-infested firewood to your house, why do you complain when you are visited by lizards? Will there be a different outcome? Even those who are charged with the implementation themselves have plotted to do this. And then following from that, what happened? You saw even when an attempt was made to even do some small public relations exercise of fighting the thing, excavators and others came, and we had 500 or 700 excavators got missing. Nothing happened to the minister and all those other officials that were Kowusi, all those other people who were supposed to be linked to it. Nothing happened. On the contrary, we rather even heard that they distributed those items to party people. I heard some of it even in this constituency. I also West Wogon. The MP benefited from some pickups, Galamsey pickups that were distributed to party people. So even Galamsey property became party property and they were distributed. How are you going to fight such a menace and succeed? So, Senna, I see this talk of sending military people back to the place as just timid pressures for small gains from a government that has so abysmally and woefully failed to tackle the issue of Galamsey, arising out of, for me, no commitment to clamp down on that menace. Let me see that evidence. I will not be oblivious of the fact that the new minister for lands, Honorable Abu Jinapo, has demonstrated some resolve to tackle the issue. Sana, I wish him well, but my brother, he's being sent to arrest a ferocious, hungry lion with his bare hands. I'm wondering whether there can be courage to tackle party chairmen from the national level to the regional level, even including party women organizers who are doing galamsey, MPP. Party chairmen, party general secretaries, party women organizers, all of them are involved in galamsey. I'm wondering whether my brother Abu will have the courage to tackle all those people. Because that is at the center of this galamsey operations that we are talking about. Not to talk about the Chinese. We remember the infamous Madam Aisha Huang, is that the name? Story, where Ghanaians, a few Ghanaians could be put aside, but when it came to the Chinese, you ask them to go back home and see no more. So I'm wondering whether you can even tackle the prominent party people who are engaged in this act of illegal mining. So now the answer for me is not the deployment of soldiers. You can deploy soldiers, they burn some machines, and I heard the defense minister saying that everything that is they see on site, they will burn everything on site. I doubt whether even that is the wisest thing to do with that, in that respect. Because there are people who think that if things are not done properly, they could be confiscated to the state. And instead of maybe getting them vanished as the 700 that they vanished, we will properly find a way of making use to them through the assemblies and others to carry out positive work in their respective local government areas. So that is another matter. But it is even debatable. Because, like I said, there is clear evidence, as demonstrated by the recent tip that Joe FM played, that there were some elements of the security services, soldiers and others, who were protecting people to do galamsey in those sites. And I'm sure you nearly even saw a confrontation when a team went there and people had come there to make sure that you can't come here and threaten us from doing that business. And so they will offer protection because of the attraction of the money that illegal mining has brought up. So, Sana, for me, making those pronouncements is not there. The sweetness of the pudding is not in the aroma. It's in the eating. Whether government has the resolve, the Nana Akufo-Addo government has the resolve to tackle its main practitioners, its top-notch apparatchiks who are doing this business. I won't mention any names here. I'm sure many Ghanaians know the top people in the NDC who are doing galamsey from Amansia West in the Ashanti region to Bogosu and other areas in the Western region. They know all those other areas, galamsey areas where they operate. They know them. I'm sure my brother here, recently I heard their women's organizer making a lot of noise. I heard their women organizers shouting on top of the roof story about some rules area, but some party people were in a hurry to also say that look at the galamsey matter too, in which many of you are involved. So Senator, that is the critical test. And I would have thought that if you wanted your government to succeed, and your government initiated a policy, my brother, are you not among the first people to support that government to succeed? But you go there and you are doing galamsey. The worst perpetrators. So, Senator, sending the military there can bring some short-term gains. You go there and close the distance. But, like I said, do we have a sustainable long-term policy? Number one, why do we get the people into that place in the first place? Why do you wait for them to get there and start devastating the environment? Because if you go to all these water bodies we are talking about, today it will take decades for us to be able to clean the mess. On top of that, Senator, if you go, all the open pits that are there are a danger. The lands have been devastated. How are they going to be reclaimed? So what reclamation process has the government put in place to redeem the lands that have been devastated? No policy. So I'm saying that we should think through and craft a holistic policy for dealing with the issue right from the point of entry, through stopping people from creating the mess, through a process of reclamation, so that the environment can be made sanitized for the people of that area. The involvement of chiefs, opinion leaders, assemblies. What is the extent? So to the extent that you cannot craft that policy that is all embracing and involving all these people, I see the thing as more of a propaganda stunt. Under pressure, a government that is under pressure to do something to please people. And you know that the MPP has what they do best is sloganeering. I just hope that is why I say that I don't envy the new minister for lands, Honorable Abu Jinapo. He may mean well, but my brother, I hope he's not sent to arrest, to catch a ferocious, hungry lion with his bare hands. Because the kingpins operating in that area are moral King Kongs in the party. And so if it doesn't involve that holistic attempt to deal with the matter, I see it as a Nandi wonder, which will get nowhere. I am really very concerned about the descent of our military into this thing. Senator, I can say without any iota of a doubt and hesitation that the reputation of our military is one of the best in the world. Ghana's military and others, our security is very, very well respected. And I say so not on account of just hearsay. In 1994, I had the benefit of being one of the few journalists who went to Rwanda to report on the war when I was still working at Daily Graphic. And when every nation ran away, every nation, and I'm talking of every other nation, they had soldiers there and they all ran away. It was only Ghanaians who were left, who stayed back and protect the millions of Rwandese from being slaughtered, and who exhibited professionalism. I'm sure in the Middle East, Ghana, this thing has excelled. In peacekeeping across various parts of the world, we have excelled. And domestically, at least until recently, we have not known the military to be involved in areas where the tag of corruption can be put on the military. So the military is one of the few remaining intact institutions of credibility. So we should not let our military also descend into this arena of corruption, because that would be a disastrous thing for this nation. That one of the few bastions left standing of integrity will also be compromised in this Galamsey fight. So if we are pushing the military into this, Senator, there must be a clear plan, well thought out plan for dealing with it, not just an emotional outburst. That you go there and just beat up people. Because even there, notwithstanding the fact that there has to be some action taken to deal with the matter, I support that action. But we must also do so mindful of the fact that the human rights and fundamental freedoms of people need to also be protected. Because there can be situations you go to a village and maybe you round up people, and in the process of screening, some heavy knocks or slaps and other beatings can take place before we realize that the culprits are not the real ones we are looking for. But I say in all this, the real big fishes at the culprits are the MPP apparatchiks. So now let us hear tomorrow that the real kingpins who are doing Galamsey in the MPP, from their national executive to their regional executive to their ministers and others who have been involved, have been taken to task, have been brought to book. and they will be made to face the full rigors of the law. Since Nana Akufo-Addo came, not a single MPP has successfully been prosecuted. No one. And that is the contrast you have between that and President Mahama. Even under President Mahama, there were cases where allegations were made, that arrests were made, prosecutions were made, and the same justice exacted while he was in power. It has never happened under Nana Akufo-Addo. Not one. Going back to the Delta forces and all those other people who committed all those atrocities, to this Galamsey thing we are fighting now, not a single one of them. So if they find one of their national executive or a regional chairman or some other body who is doing Galamsey, mark my words, in the name of MPP, he will go scot-free. Nothing will happen to him. So who then will be the sacrificial lamb for fighting this Galamsey? Whose neck will then be on the line to serve an example for people to know that Galamsey, it will be a very high price for anybody to engage in Galamsey. So that's why I say that it may be a cosmetic piece. I hope Ghanaians will demand that the right and proper thing should be done, so that at the end of the day, we liberate our lands, not just the water bodies, even the lands. So now, lands to even farm on now are becoming scarce in areas where Galamsey is taking. You are hearing that even cocoa plantations and others are being bought to buy a cocoa plantation to uproot all the trees and go and do Galamsey there. So can you imagine the effect you've had on cocoa production, which is our most prominent foreign exchange earner? So you see the effect that this is going to have on us. Not to talk about the long-term effects, of the dangerous chemicals. Mercury. Mercury is being injected into some of those water bodies and others. Mercury and others takes decades of even extensive action to deal with before you can even take off the dangerous effects of those chemicals on the environment. They're not there. And now we have even been told that because of the presence of some of these chemicals in our cocoa and others, it's going to undermine the pitches. Ghana's cocoa used to be premium. We are undermining that through this one. So the effects are very wide and far-reaching. And I am not surprised that it happened under Nana Akufo-Addo, because, like I said, he spoke with a double tongue. On one hand, he's against Galamsey. On the other hand, he's protecting the Galamseyers. So don't tell us that you can quench the fire when your mouth is full of water.
Alhaji, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me just do a few of your messages on Facebook. If you're joining us, we are live on Facebook. If you're watching us there, you can use the comment section and share your thoughts with us. You can also use the number that we are displaying, our text message on WhatsApp line, and share your thoughts with us. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Eric Okusapano is saying a good morning to us. Says, Alhaji ABF Zini had hit the nail on the head. TUC Ghana, TUC of Ghana currently is not a militant labor front championing the right of workers. Johnny Walker is asking, after the killing of Major Muhammad, what did we learn as a nation? Niaye is saying a good morning to us. As I always say, by the time the ordinary Ghanaian realize that this new patriotic party people have messed up the country, it will be too late. It says, John Kovaya says, the TUC of Ghana leadership are a betrayal of the working class. The revolutionary action against them is paramount. A few more messages. Buzi Beto also says that another and the entire MPP party gurus, you see, are neck deep in Galamsey business in Ghana today. Kuku Stefano says deploying soldiers to fight Galamsey is a cosmetic window dressing of the Galamsey ecological menace. The youth need jobs. Moratorium on small-scale mining for the next 30 years to land reclamation, rivers restoration, and forest reclamation must take place. Abakari Sadiq Mohammed said, okay, this is on something else. There's a lot more messages repeated. Dawuni Abdullah said, waiting for the speech from the leadership of the TVC. If care is not taken, there will be political division of workers' union, because it's always vibrant on one government, silent on the other. Emma Sene Lash says, what so-called 200 soldiers can do whilst there are lots of Galamsey side out there? Is this good? Okay, okay, government ready to fight the Galamsey? I bet you nothing good will come out of this. Zero. Lilian Kwesi is joining us that the normal culture of silent taxes that keep well-meaning citizens in silence on national issues so the politicians and their foot soldiers can continue to mismanage us into economic slavery. Ghana deserves better. But the Kupesika says Abu Jinapo is being sent out to fight a ferocious hungry lion with his bare hands. He is quoting Alhaji Alhaji. Let me move to George.
So, the Galamsey fight is an arduous fight, but we hope to prevail. We hope to surmount as a government. The commitment and willingness of the president is par excellence for a fact. But before I touch on that, I would want to say I like the brief presentation by the comrade Pratt on the labor front. So straight to the point. It's good, but I disagree with the Honorable A.B.A. Fuseni calling the banking sector reforms reckless. I disagree. And this government committed about 600 million to supporting a stimulus package, and then 3 billion negotiated with the banking sector to support businesses. These are facts that can be verified. That is taking such steps besides the efforts that we had made earlier, the first 3 years, averaging growth of about 7%, okay, before COVID struck, and then, but for that, our resilience magnitude would have been very decrepit. And so I commend the government for the work done, but there's more to be done going forward on these matters. So and then the ANAS principle, you know, it's good. You see, but when certain other things come to view, you need to then vary your options. Because if somebody in number 12, that video, when I watched it, there was this lady who somebody just said thank you with 20 Ghana and was recorded and was shown. You think the woman was taking a bribe? You think so? And that should be for the rest of her life tagged that she was taking a bribe? Don't we go to places every day, we finish with in our pocket and give the young people something? We do that. Is that akin to bribery? And so that is how come the CID said he should bring all his details so they interrogate what happened. What was the cooperation level of ANAS and the CID? I think he took it to the office of the special prosecutor. Okay? We'll be talking about that. Interestingly, I think ANAS lawyer is now the nominee for that. Okay? So when we come to that, we'll be talking about those things. Now let's come to the Galamsey. The government has deployed 200 military men to go and safeguard our water bodies. To be honest with you, if you've lived in Galamsey-prone areas before, then you begin to appreciate the need for the fight, no matter how difficult it's going to be. So now I would sit here and say that the first phase of the fight, I call these one the second phase, phase 2. The first phase of the fight started very well. One of your texters said something very important, and I thought is about the moratorium issue that you read. Very interesting. If you can, reminisce into the beginning of the fight, it was that, you see, we stopped all small-scale mining. And let's distinguish between Galamsey and small-scale mining. They are two different things. Galamsey is illegal. Small-scale mining is legal. Okay? So let's juxtapose the two and distinguish them properly. Now, let me come to those things. When we started the fight, the president placed a moratorium on all mining activities in the country. True or false? True. Small-scale miners were stopped, and the water bodies began to be nice. Until, we said, okay, we've done the preliminary things. We've taken them to UMAT for education on responsible mining. We are devising a strategy for community mining and all that. Very nice, fantastic policy directions and implementation programs.
Then we lifted the ban on small-scale mining. So since then, what's been the nature of our water bodies? What it tells you is that you cannot eat your cake and have it. If you say you want them to continue to do small-scale mining, definitely the hands that are hired to do those minings, those hands in the night will want to trespass and do their own illegal activities. That Ghanaians are partners. If I read something purported to have been said by the Chinese ambassador to Ghana, that the Chinese people don't know our forests, they don't know where the mining sites are. It takes the partnership of the Ghanaian to get them to those places. And of course, the Chinese come with the Shanghai. Those ones are put in the middle of the water bodies. The mine, I schooled at Buakwa State College. I did my sixth form there in Chebi. The Brame River was passing through our camp, at the, back. We went there to fetch water. You could see your face in the Brame. The last time we were having our 80th anniversary, I went there. I went to the Brame, and it was sad. You get it? It was sad. So these are realities that we need to look at. The small-scale mining, responsible community mining that government was to get to, which in fact we started before the election. And then the president says something at the launch of the dialogue session. We saw party big guys in the opposition, okay, in mining area, in the Dunkwa area, telling the people what they would do if they had the chance. That's what the president is saying, that, okay, can we have a bipartisan approach to this? It is the interest of the nation that should be paramount, other than the parochial political interest. That is very important. And so the dialogue, we had 2 days in Accra, said, I think we should take it down there to the community level, the districts, the communities where the mining is done. Look, you can deploy 10,000 military people to the areas. If they do not have the support and cooperation of the people in the community, we will fail. Okay? Because look, we've heard stories where in the Tiwa area, in the, soldiers have been deployed to go and protect the, water bodies and the forest and co. And in the night, community people can signal the miners, the Galamsey people, that the military is coming towards this direction or the other direction. Okay? And so they cease activities, move everything away before the military will get there. Okay? And then when they get there, there's nothing, no mining activity is going on. So they move to another point. Then the people will come back and do the thing. It's been happening. And so if you don't have the whole commitment of the people in the community to support in these fights, we'll be telling. Let me tell you something about the commitment of the president. In 2016, I was fortunate or privileged to be in a campaign in the middle of the night, around 10, 11, after a tedious campaign session. We met the president with the dons of academia, the lecturers at the University of Cape Coast. They met in a place we both stay, if we are Professor Bonzim's. You get it? We met there. And the president's presentation was like a professor in natural resource, something, presenting something, and his seriousness. Then I knew that the man would do what he launched. He spoke about the environment, the need for us to protect it for the future generation, water bodies and all that. And so when he came and launched the thing, I said, whoa, fantastic. The man is committed to it. But I will also sit here and admit that the first phase was not as successful as we envisioned. Okay? We failed. Garland stopped, disappointed us along the line. It's a fact. Okay? We saw situations where we've heard that Ghana must go backs were open for some members of the team and they couldn't turn off their eye. Look, you are dealing with people with big money bags in the industry who are ready and willing to compromise people who want to fight. If the people are not principled with integrity, they can easily be taken away. That is what we are talking about. Mining sector involves huge monies.
And if you want to get the military going, I believe that we should not have just maybe one team. We should have different teams. One moves, the other. You see, you are not sure which one is coming. Okay? And so if you get some of the members of Team 1 compromised, Team 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 may come. Can you compromise all of them? You get it? So frequent, round the clock, they are moving along the banks and the areas of mining and coal to ensure that we will succeed. But if we go 1, 2, 3 teams, Gallop stop 1, 2, they can easily. And I must admit that we cannot boldly put our chest out. Succeeded in the fight in the first phase. Okay? There were challenges. We saw things were seized, and people complained that even the seized items they suspected didn't get to where it should have gotten to. Okay? They were not properly accounted for. The Galamsey, the so-called missing excavator, I disagree with the Honorable. That's the Honorable, we had 500. Even that, the accounting wasn't proper. The accounting wasn't properly done. So now I sat somewhere and said it, and it's part of the report. If you read your report, it's about something is called the head in the excavators or so. Now, it can demobilize the machine if it's taken out, okay? Now, those things, when the military understand the gallows or something, when they get to a point, they seize the machine, they take that out to immobilize or demobilize the machine, thinking that the operators had spare ones. So when you move, you have accounted in your report that yesterday night, you seized about 12 excavators. Okay, because you took out the heads of about 8 of them, and then you took 4 to maybe the district assembly or the police post. Okay, then you come and the 8 you can't account for them; they are not there because you left it there thinking you can come and move it the next day. Okay, so those were part of the challenges because there were spare heads and they put them in and moved them, and so the accounting for the excavators became a challenge. I'm not sitting here to say there were no problems with the accounting for the excavators. No. You Honorable mentioned Ayawasu West Gogo. It's true. Because my good friend and chairman, first vice chairman, his office is here. Okay? Where most of the machines, some of the cars and co were brought. It's in Ayawasu West Gogo here. Okay? So if you bring Ayawasu West Gogo, no, it's important because strategically, one of the key fighters or the team, yes, we see had his office here. Okay, and so it's and one thing I thought I personally wasn't too satisfied with was that video he referred to in the office of the Minister for Environment, Professor Frimpong Boateng, the respected surgeon. Okay, yes, if you watch it carefully, I watched it and I said, look, it's like somebody was up to something because questions were like leading, and those who were recording knew what they wanted to take out of the man. Okay? And so, you saw that it was something that maybe in future would be used to blackmail him. Okay? That he was speaking freely. Somebody says party here, Sika. Party here, Sika doesn't mean go do Galamsey. Because at that time, the moratorium on mining had been lifted. And small-scale miners had been instructed to go back to their sites, okay? Concessions. People were giving legal concessions. Go to Minerals Commission. You can go and verify a certain concession given. Has it been given to somebody else before? And you know how rich is the place. You can get all this information from the Minerals Commission. It's here in cantonments. You can go there. Okay? So these are things that, and when you're fighting, and then small-scale miners are also working, it's going to be a challenge. So if the phase 2, have we found a solution to that? How we are going to manage the activities of small-scale miners vis-a-vis the Galamsey people? Because government officially is trained some people, and we put them together, what we call community mining. Okay? And so these people are supposed to be legal, legit people with concession given to them. And there's a clause, a condition, that 20 meters at the banks of the rivers, that's time to be corrected with a radius, But 20 meters thereafter, you are not to mine in the river and 20 meters at the banks. So even if you see gold there, if your hand cannot pick it, don't touch it. That is the law. But how can we enforce the laws? The difference in the Kingdom, United States, and our part is law enforcement. Okay? Somebody driving in the UK, because if you jump the traffic, you definitely, whether there's somebody or nobody, you will definitely get a ticket. Okay? And so he's conscious of that. You go to work 1 minute late, there's going to be consequences for you. Okay? Here, the converse seems to be the case. He knows he can jump traffic and go. Nobody will do anything. Okay? And so that becomes a challenge. You can get to work late and you can go and sleep. At the end of the month you take. So those are cultural challenges that we need to look at. But coming back to this thing, after the Accra dialogue, are we having a dialogue? The Honorable ABA said something. And by the way, I was one of his avid students when he was writing. He spoke about Rwanda in '94. Daily Graphic, every time I want to read his page before I go to sleep. And so I've said, you know, he's part of the teachers who trained me to be a bit analytical in issues. So thank you, sir. But the dichotomy is still there. So have we engaged the communities, okay? As I said, that they can be the better police for the success of the... Yes, the minister has shown his commitment. So did the former minister, Peter Amewu. So did the former minister, who is now Ambassador Ame Acheme. Yes, they've all shown commitment. But the fight became, there's a team that must get to the grounds to ensure enforcement. Those were challenged. In fact, Galamsey became something. To be honest with you, as he said, the military is high-ranked, one of the groups with integrity, honor, okay, across the globe. Okay, General Eskins and co, they've given us international honor. So we cannot be seen to be doing things that will lower the image of the military. But they, because of the training they've had, if we deploy them to do something, they must bring those training and discipline to bear on the responsibilities them to execute. We cannot underestimate that. Okay? And so if you go and the fight becomes jonkulized, who do you blame? Who do you blame? Because you are the lead team. You should be responsible for the work that you do. The president is committed to it. We need the collective, and you know, I've heard that argument that it's party people, big wigs that are involved, and who. I can say I wouldn't sit here and deny, but you know, he's not giving me names and evidence to that effect. But hey, I wouldn't say it's not factual. It could be individuals from the party, maybe in the mining sector. My good friend now, Honorable Deputy Minister appointed. I'm so excited that he's been appointed Deputy Minister, the Honorable Mrekuduka, MP for Takwanswai. Okay? Understand he's been in the small-scale mining for some time. And to the issue, in the phase one, he's been open about the approach that was being used to fight the thing. He was against it. He thought there should be other ways because it was too aggressive, as if it's war and all that. Okay? We should vary the approach and all that. So now that he's been made the deputy, I hope and pray he'll be able to get the sector minister to appreciate his experience as a member in that industry, okay? To bring to bear on the efficient way to carry out the fight against mostly illegal mining, not small-scale mining, illegal mining. And now there's a moratorium on mining in water bodies. Right. And the other aspect the Honorable ABA spoke, which is good, which I also agree with him in a way. I am of the opinion, that's my personal opinion, that when you are given the license session, you must be charged a fee, okay, for land reclamation. Done by the forestry company. as they go, it's a legal, legitimate concession. You have paid for the reclamation fee, and then forestry people will follow you to do covering and the replanting. Okay? Because people will go, they will say, oh, we'll do the reclamation. They will finish, get this thing, and disappear. In the next concession. Okay? So punitive measures sometimes are not able to be strictly enforced. So we need to put some of these measures in place. I've been in the Dunkwa area. I visited the forest sometime, and if you dare to go to the bush and you are not lucky, Sena, you can fall into a pit. If you enter Boabenso, I'm speaking of Boabenso, a village near Dunkwa. Okay? I went there, and then I went into the bush. There was a person I was moving. He said, hey, take care. If you don't take time, then he showed me a pit there. He said, you can step in and nobody will hear of you again. You get it? And so those were some of that's why we need to reclaim the land. And the way and the approach they use in the mining is also another matter. The president and this government is commented, but it's a Herculean task. Nobody should pretend it's going to be an easy fight, especially having the benefit of hindsight in the first phase. Okay? The first phase was seriously challenged. Seriously. That's how come even before election we saw the water bodies. Okay? The first 6 months or so that there was moratorium on small-scale mining, we saw the water bodies. I had the opportunity to be in travel to Eziama, so I stopped at Ankobra, the Ankoba River, and then the Biposo in Takwa. You see, those things, and of course, Brame, Densu, see the way they are, the water bodies are. Okay? And none is good, especially Ghana water is always crying. The cost of treatment of water, especially with such nice the cost involved, you're my sister. The cost involved is high. Yeah, so the dialogue should go down to the local level with the chiefs involvement, with the local people involved. Otherwise, the military, the 200, we can even add more, will still have difficulties because they will be playing dilly-dally games with the military. As you get to maybe a community of mining in maybe Boabenso, or you come to my area in Asamankesi to, we call a place Africa. You get it? There's mining in that sector. You go there and then the people will just signal. The military are here, so everybody scatters. When they move to another place, then they signal them, they come. But if the people understand, you see, let's not forget, it is their means, most of them is their means of livelihood. Okay? And then we say there's alternative whatever. Then some have asked us, hey, George, and your government, you say alternative whatever. Are you telling me if you say I should go and plant oil palm, plantain and those things, the money I made from Galamsey, I'm going to make that? And why are you not giving that to the Chinese people? They ask you. Because, look, we can't gloss over that. There is the belief that the Chinese are also involved in what we are doing. In fact, the Shanghai, they bring it. And our people partner them and they do what they're doing, destroying our water body. Another essential thing he touched on, which is becoming presence of mercury. Okay? And it's true. People are buying cocoa farms and cutting them off to mine. Some of those ones are legal small-scale mining. They give you the concession, and about 8% or 9% of the concession is a cocoa farm. You get it? And people want their thing. It's illegal. So they go and see the owner of the cocoa farm, you compensate them, and you cut them off. These are things that are real. Okay? And it has future direct consequences on our cocoa production. As the number 2 in the world, I stand to be corrected if we are still not there. As for the quality, the premium on our cocoa is non-contestable. But once these things are beginning to, sit in, is a challenge. Because this government of Nanado and the Ivorian president have been able to push for something we call LID, the living income differential. okay, which is paid cocoa farmers $400 on every ton of cocoa produced. Okay, and that is bonus that is paid to them. It's part of the reason why we're able to raise cocoa price in the last pricing window. Okay, so these are good policies that I bet if we don't safeguard and protect them going forward, if indeed mercury and coal is found in a cocoa or something, it's going to be a huge price that we're going to pay, and it will affect us, especially when we should be processing. This government is making drives to getting us processed our raw material, especially cocoa, but we still have a way to go. Okay, until we make it real, we need to work harder. As for the fight, I pray we all, that's what the president says, should be bipartisan, the NDC and us, because now it's like we are pushing, and so we must pay the price for it. So now, we've never lost in Denchira West before. Okay? We've never lost that seat. Prestia Huni Valley. If I say we've never from 96, because 92 we didn't participate. We didn't participate, no. So Prestia Huni Valley is gone. A fine, fantastic woman as MP. Barbara Tinges, honorable. We nearly lost Mekuduga, another mining area. We have traditionally won all the major mining areas in the country. Okay? You apart from maybe the northern sector, because I know there's gold mine in some parts of the north. Yeah. So apart from that, in the southern enclave, you know why? Yes, no, it's part of the it's part of the reasons I'm giving you that mining, especially our fight against the small scale, is actually biting it. But interestingly, in some of these places, the presidential candidate won. Okay, the parliamentarians paid the price for that. So let's continue to put in measures. Let's support the president. Let's not give up. The military have been deployed, but that is not the final solution because we've seen the first phase. We're disappointed. Let's see how the second phase will be fought. Engagement, not war. Okay? Local people, community people involved. Community mining be done responsibly. If the people see that they are all part now, there's a concession given. We see about 20 of our local people as part of the owners of that concession, and they are working and doing responsible mining. The people there will begin to say, okay, let's support the cause. Okay? But if we continue to be so aggressive and cut out the local people whose livelihood is eked out, the Galamsey they do, they will definitely fight back, and we will not succeed. So let's cooperate and support the president to succeed. We can succeed if there's a will.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George. A couple of your messages before I go to Gabriela. Alhaji Hamza in Pig Farm says, now we need to be truthful to ourselves and speak the truth for once in this country. We're told by President Nana-Addo that he was ready to put his presidency on the line in the fight against Galamsey. But the question here is that where are we today? Mr. President in the MPP has failed hands down. We are where we are today because party functionaries of the MPP say they need money to run party activities, and they should be allowed to operate in Galamsey to raise monies to run party activities. I don't think this government should be taken serious again in the fight against Galamsey because they cannot be trusted. We are told equipment seized will be burned at the site, but the question is here. The question here is, where are the seized goods? Ghanaians want to know. Yeah.
It can be given to state agencies to work. It's better than burning them like that.
Kojocho Mwapo says, ask George JC to stop trying to re-deceive the people of this country. Akufo-Addo told us he will put his presidency on the line to stop illegal mining. He failed abjectly. He didn't resign. In the end, party officials like Okowusi and the minister in charge of Galamsey, Professor Frimpong Boateng operation, were caught red-handed with their hands in the soup. The coordinator of the task force, Charles Bisi, was caught red-handed by an expose. What has happened to the Okowusi as we speak? Was he not arrested and his auctioneer's license withdrawn? Was the license not restored the night before the president visited the central region during the campaign? Where are all the so-called improperly accounted for excavators? You people are just not fit for purpose. A very dishonest president is leading a Maleficent-infested government. George, I beg, make me hear. That's coming from Kojo Alhaji Alhaji says, Senator, there are many diverse thoughts regards to mining. The state, including all of us, are against the legal aspect of the mining, and it should be a war of first world, like all Ghanaians to come together to fight this galamsey menace devoid of politics. Let's rise up for an onus to rescue Ghana now. Thank you. Walanyo sent that from Akwitia. There are a lot more messages. Let me read this one from Kofi Adoli, then I'll go to Gabi. It says, I don't agree with Alhaji that when Anas provided evidence of corruption, nothing happened. Something happened. He said Ahmed Hussein Swale was murdered. That's from Kofi Adoli.
Nanado's government failed in the fight against galamsey. Nanado's government, in the first 6 months when they placed the ban on galamsey, as Joy said, we could see the response in the environment. Our water started clearing up because nobody was on it muddying the rivers. Nobody was there diverting rivers into camps and infesting these rivers with debris, silt, and mercury. In 2020, Professor Frimpong Boateng, there's an article on the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology website saying that 90% of galamseyers have stopped in 2020. So why in 2021 are we still fighting galamsey? Because of the grand deception of this government. They sent out joint military and police teams to go and fight galamsey. Now they are coming to blame the very people who were sent out to go and fight this, that they are the ones responsible. Who were the people on the ground telling the owners of these pits that today the military and the police, security, the vanguard will be coming? We have chiefs, politicians, businessmen, opinion leaders, heavy in the galamsey trade in this country. And yet we say we are going to fight galamsey. Who are we fooling? Galamsey is like pregnancy. You can't hide it because the rivers will give you up. This operation by the military on River Pra, I think that it's been a long time coming. I'm glad that for once we have the military as a standalone force undertaking this venture. I pray to God that they will not let us down. On Wednesday, when they went on operation, local intelligence must have told them that nobody comes near Pra on Wednesdays. So when they went, they only found 2 Chinese. No Ghanaian was near Pra. But go there on the Thursday and the Friday, and you see the people who are doing the galamsey on Pra. This morning, I won't be surprised that they are back on that river. The Ghanaians, I mean, and their Chinese counterparts. We have local people who see glaringly that people are destroying the environment, but sit down and only talk and will do nothing to safeguard the very environment that sustain they themselves as individuals. He made mention that we come from the same place in the Cape Coast. We depend on the Kakum for water. Kakum takes the source from Pra. Pra runs through 4 regions, 40 districts depend on this river. Central and Western depend on this river for water. Western region is the one that is most hit with this devastation on Pra because they take more of it compared to us in the Cape Coast, because we depend largely, it flows into Kakum and we depend on Kakum. Pra is just one of the many rivers that today are polluted and contaminated. Should we continue sitting down and pretending like we are doing something about small-scale mining in Galamsey? Or should we finally take the fight back to save the environment? Because when we refuse to save the environment, as for the Mother Nature, she will always find a way of correcting herself. And sometimes her ways can be very devastating to us. Today, prayer no longer flows with the kind of fluidity that it used to. It has become a thick sludge. No living organism lives in the river anymore. It's highly polluted for them. It's too acidic for living organisms. Nobody fetches prayer to drink anymore. Nobody fetches prayer to wash. Your clothes will come out with a tint of gold. People's livelihoods are dependent on prayer, on Ankobra, on Desu, and on and on. And we are sitting down for these rivers to die. Because as a country, we prefer to lie to the people for political gains than to face the hard reality. Western region, Ghana Water Company in Western region, is having to spend millions just to process water. The little water that they get. The chlorine that they have to buy, they're now having to go in higher quantities just so that the people will get good, clean water to use in their homes. Somebody should tell the Akufo-Addo that in this last 4 years of his term, for once, he should have the balls to solve this problem, because his legacy in his 8 years as president, this one I was thinking about him, and I was asking myself, so what at all will Akufo-Addo's legacy be when he's leaving office? Free SHS, and now they say people should go and pay school fees. Free SHS, and the people say they don't have textbooks. Free SHS, they don't have enough classrooms. So I keep asking, what is his legacy? At least, if you have nothing better to leave us, don't leave us with a devastated environment. When this young man took over, Jinapor II, and I mean, I admire his vibrancy, his enthusiasm. But you know, politicians, when they take office for the first time and they want to prove that, yeah, we've arrived, that's the same behavior they all exude. Give them 6 months. Either somebody will push him back in line or himself will give up. I pray that he has there's consistent favor in his life to continue with this fight anyway. He has issues with also land acquisition and land guards. That's another area he should also be championing. We sent the military under President Rawlings to fight Galamsey. He failed. We sent the military under President Kufuor to fight Galamsey. He failed. We sent the military, immigration, police joint standing force to fight Galamsey. It was a campaign message for Akufo-Addo. Obviously, that one wasn't successful either. And now we are sending the military again. Frankly, I think that the tactics of the military has to change. And we, the people, should back the military up. There is absolutely no reason for me, Gabriela, as an individual, why 4 million people who depend on prayer should have their livelihoods and their existence threatened just for the sake of some 10,000 people who mine Galamsey. I was on a show on Thursday and I told the host that if you're looking for the one who will give up the 4 million and save the 10,000, you'll go and look for Jesus. I'm female, obviously. I am not him, and I cannot think like him. But I'll willingly, without even batting an eyelid, give up 10,000 for the sake of that 4 million. If they go, instead of burning excavators, I've said this to countless occasions, give them high-grade drones with rockets. If they see a champagne on the river, don't waste your time arresting anybody. Blow the damn thing up with everybody standing on it. Because you are not supposed to be there. If people start blasting people off rivers, even when they see a bird coming, they will run. The law says, and it is very clear, no mining in reserves, no mining in water bodies. There's the red zone, which I think it's not 10 meters, I think it's about 1 kilometer or so away from a riverbed. And it's against diversion of water bodies as well. Anybody who does any of these things, for me, it is a very simple issue. You are threatening the existence of the 4 million people. I'm specifically talking about PRA, because this operation was on PRA. You are deliberately threatening the livelihoods of those 4 million Ghanaians. And there's no way I will sit for you 10,000 to destroy 4 million. It won't happen. For us to deal with this issue, and this Galamsey thing is beyond PRA. Now, they are moving to the mine sites in the north as well. And from what I hear, because of endemic poverty in the north, as for that place, PRA, if we don't take care, it will be worse than, because even the small farmlands that they have access to farm twice in a year are being destroyed. And after they destroy those lands with their Galamsey, reclaiming those ones will be an issue, because it will take time to get those lands revived again. That sector should be heavily regulated. He made a suggestion about having a forestry commission do the reclamation after mining. I think it's a good idea, but they should pay for it while they are getting the license, because if not, you are waiting for them to mine and then they come back again. It will not happen. And secondly, I also think that even the renewal of the licenses should be done half year or maximum 1 year, because of the way they destroy lands and quickly move to another site. The DCEs and MCEs have shown us that they are very incompetent when it comes to safeguarding the interest of Ghanaians in these mining areas. Most of them are themselves heavily involved in it. So who is going to fight for the sake of this environment? The people are busily chasing their party agenda and not their their nationalistic agenda. Now, as we speak, 3 of our major cash crops are threatened by Galamsey. Cocoa accounts for 3% of GDP of this country. We have roughly about 6 million farmers whose livelihoods depend on cocoa farms. Many of them, not all of them, have sold their farms to small-scale miners. Many of them, they are having to deal with infiltration of their farms by small-scale miners. And because these people's numbers outnumber them, they are unable to fight for their lands. Our cocoa trees are picking up mercury. And that is the difficulty. Because for us, when we are exporting cocoa seeds, we don't take them through the kind of scrutiny that the EU takes seeds into when they are importing those seeds. You know that the EU has threatened Ghana that they will ban our cocoa because of these same issues with Galamsey. The EU system is so particular about, Sana, this shirt you are wearing, what you and I are wearing. If anybody wants to mass produce this and export to Europe, they'll even account for the dye that went into the manufacturing of the material, not to talk of the design of the outfit. Before we go to the design of the outfit, that is how particular the EU is about standards and the protection of their citizens. So there's no way the EU will sit unconcerned whilst we are using mercury to wash gold in this haphazard, uncontrolled manner and think that they will just accept us anyhow. We're becoming a very irresponsible country. And that's when I blame a lot on our leaders. Because we leave too many things to chance. God puts brains in our heads to solve problems for this country. Not for us to sit and be thinking that we are going to pray our problems away. Then we should all stop working and be praying every single day and see if any change will come to this country. Rubber plantations are being destroyed because of Galamsey. All palm plantations are being destroyed because of Galamsey. And these are cash crops that the economy depends on, not just gold. The gold will go. These trees will remain. And they must continue to be the mainstay of this economy. When you go to Malaysia, the oil palm tree is protected by law. You dare not cut one single tree without the law pursuing you. Why can't we put the law to back our cocoa trees? Every single tree, there's technology. You map the farms, you tap a tree. Every single tree that is not accounted for. How much do we pump into the cocoa board for them to subsidize fertilizer and all these things just so that we can get cocoa seeds to export for that 3% GDP? So why should we sit and just let this be treated anyhow? So somebody should tell Nana Akufo-Addo, we all give him our support, but we also expect him that the deception of his government in the fight with Galamsey has to stop. I don't want to read 90% of Galamsey's have stopped, and then when I watch my TV, I see the water bodies are moving from tea to coffee. You can't hide pregnancy. It will show. You can't hide Galamsey. It will show. Your people are not up to task. Fire them. That is why you are president. The people chose you for a purpose. Don't join the choir of AAA and let's pray to God. We have disturbed God enough. Every day he speaks to our thoughts. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. No. He's already answered. It's time for action. If the military go and they kill people, I will not defend anybody on air. I will support the military. Because for me, those rivers, those water bodies, those lands speak more to me than 10,000 people who are benefiting from a black market trade. I'm done.
Thank you. Two messages, then I'll go to Mr. Pratt. This one is from Dennis Yakwete, who says, Senator, Ghana is indeed an interesting place to live in. We have laws on mining in Ghana and amended same under the current government to have stricter punishment for those engaged in illegal mining to the extent that one could suffer 15 years imprisonment if one culpable, and instead of us to enforce the laws, especially when we're made to believe by the previous local government minister that they knew those involved in the illegal mining, including some MMDCs, allegedly. But here we are undertaking another operation. What? As for the Special Prosecutor's Office, it is now obvious it was created for a cover-up for some state officials who are involved in plundering of our resources. We should just scrap it if we cannot amend the Constitution to have an independent Attorney General or a truly independent Special Prosecutor. And then Baba Musa sends his regards, especially to the indefatigable MP Alhaji Alhaji, and sends a Ramadan Karim to him. Says the rate at which our freshwater resources are polluted by illegal mining activities, in which the NPP government is complicit, is very worrying. The NPP government cannot fight illegal mining genuinely. The government is completely neck deep in the mess. Why is Charles Bisiu, Frimpong Boateng, etc. all still walking freely without prosecution? Why are the likes of Untumi, who have been accused as accomplices, not invited for investigations? Meanwhile, the transport fares go up next week, according to GPRT. If you're just joining us, we're discussing the issue of military being sent to the mining site. Mr. Pratt.
Well, again, I think that, look, we have a huge problem with mining. And the problem with mining is not just limited to illegal mining or legal mining or Galamsey. The whole mining industry presents this country with a huge problem. And it's about time we sat down, studied the mining industry, and take steps to regulate it So that in the final analysis, the people of Ghana will become the true owners of the mineral that is deposited in our soil, and they will become the true beneficiaries of its exploitation. So that in the final analysis, our environment will be preserved. So that in the final analysis, mining does not become the destructive activity that it has become today. Long before we woke up to the menace that Galamsey and was creating, our water bodies were being polluted. The water bodies were being polluted by cyanide and all kinds of chemicals. There have been reports of fishes dying in our rivers and so on. You should take a look at some of the reports that have been prepared by Wakam over the years. You should take a look at some of the reports that have been prepared by organizations like the Third World Network and so on. And then you can begin to understand that the whole of the mining industry needs a second look and needs reorganizing. Now listen, what are some of the problems that we have with mining? We've been mining gold in this country for God knows how long and so on. And yet today, the rich and powerful in our society, when they want jewels, when they want necklaces and bangles and so on, they go to Dubai to go and buy them. That's a problem for the mining industry. That we have so much gold, and yet our people go to Dubai to go and buy trinkets and so on and so on. It's a problem. How has the gold industry led to the development of a local industry that uses gold in order to produce, other things and so on for export and for local consumption? So that's a huge problem with mining. Now, the other thing that we need to ask ourselves is, how much does mining bring into the economy? How much does mining bring into the economy? You have a situation where the Bank of Ghana has signed foreign exchange retention agreements with mining companies, which allows mining companies to keep up to 98% of the total value of gold exported from this country abroad. We should be worried. We should be deeply worried about the situation in which mining companies are allowed to keep up to 98% of the total value of gold mined here outside this economy. That's a huge problem which needs to be addressed. Now, over the years, over the last 20 years or so, Ghanaian share, even in the mines operated by multinational corporations, has dwindled. And has dwindled to a paltry 2 to 3%. Under General Achampong, Ghana had laws which insisted that no mining operation could take place in this country unless Ghanaians had 55% stake in the enterprise. Now our total stake is about 3%, and we ought to be worried. If you take Anglo Gold Ashanti, apart from everything else, we used to have a golden share that golden share enabled us to have a casting vote at decisions of the board. Under President Kufuor, we decided to sell that golden share. So today, when the mining companies meet and are taking decisions about our mineral resources and so on, we have no say. We have no say at all when the mining companies meet and are taking decisions about resources that belong to the people of Ghana. We have no say. I recall that Professor Akira Kwasoya was actually mandated by the state to review mining operations in this country. And he did review mining operations in this country. What happened to the Akisoya report? What happened to the Akisoya report on mining in this country? Somebody just put it aside. You understand? So the mining sector has many, many problems. And this focus on Galamsey and so on, important as it is, does not answer all the questions, or does not deal with all the issues on the mining sector. And we need to have a broader view of the mining sector. Now, when you listen to public commentary, even on the fight against Galamsey, sometimes you wonder. When you listen to public commentary on the fight against Galamsey, there's so much talk about pollution of our water bodies. And when people talk about the pollution of our water bodies, they are actually talking about the fact that the water bodies have changed color. So, yes, the change in color tells us that something is happening to the rivers and so on, but it is more than that. Only last week, or sometime this week, we heard about the Takwa School of Mines coming up and telling us that they've developed a method which will clean the rivers which have been polluted. What is this method which has been developed? The method which has been developed is a method which allows particles to settle so that the water looks clean and so on. Master, it is not the look of the water. It is not the look of the water. You can make particles settle and so on, but if there's cyanide in that water, it will not settle. It will continue to kill the fishes, kill the human beings, and poison the crops that are grown with water from that river. You understand? If there's mercury in the river, that mercury will not settle. That mercury will continue to poison us and so on. So let us not focus attention on the color of the river. It is important, but it is not everything. And cleaning the water, making the water look clean, should not be our ultimate goal. You understand? Now, for me, I want anybody in government and outside government to tell the people of Ghana that we don't know the people who are involved in Galamsey. We know who are involved in Galamsey. The security services know who are involved in Galamsey. Everybody knows who is involved in Galamsey. So all this propaganda in the media, the noise in the media about Galamsey and so on, sometimes is a waste of our years. Because if the authorities wanted to deal with the people who are involved in Galamsey, they can deal with them without making noises in the media. Because they know them. They know who and who are involved in Galamsey. And indeed, when people who are involved in Galamsey have been exposed, what has happened? Nothing. We've seen all kinds of audio and video tapes capturing big men and small men in conversations about Galamsey operations, who is benefiting, why they are doing it, how much they are getting, and so on. All of these documents are public. And yet, nothing happens. Nothing happens. We've seen ministers alleging publicly, alleged ministers, that a number of excavators are missing. What happened? When a minister alleged that 500 excavators are missing, what happened? Sana, these excavators, they come through the ports. They are cleared through the ports. Excavators, when they are moving to mining sites, can be seen. Excavators are not invisible equipment. They are visible equipment. I travel around this country and I see the excavators moving all over the place. If somebody tells me that it's difficult to track the excavators and their movements, how can the movement of excavators, they make a lot of noise, they are huge machines and so on. How can somebody tell me that we cannot track the movement of excavators? So if we can track the movement of excavators and stop them from being used to cause the level of devastation and so on, why is it not being done? And the simple answer is that it is not being done because highly influential, deep pocket state officials and party gurus are the people who are involved in the Galamsey. That is why we can't move. Look at the fantastic work which has been done by journalists over the years. Look at the work of Anas Arimu Yao Anas. Look at the work he has done. Look at the evidence he has provided. What happened? Look at the brilliant work which reporters at Joy Television and Joy FM have done. Look at the number of audio and videos that they have produced. They have gone to the field. We have seen the people, the human beings who are involved in videos. We have seen the level of devastation in the videos that these journalists have produced. We have seen soldiers in uniform protecting Galamsey sites. What happened? Who did something about it? So, you know, sometimes when I sit back, I tell myself that we are just being fooled. We are just being fooled. Because if there was a commitment to fight Galamsey or to fight the evils of mining, we could have done it a long time ago. It doesn't take rocket science to do that. Very simple observation and common sense actions would have gotten us out of it. Because we know the extent of the damage. We know the forests which are being devastated. We know the people who are doing it. We see the excavators moving and we do nothing. So the noise is becoming too much. Now, if you want to discuss the damage that the mining is doing to us and so on, it is so huge. Within the last 4 weeks, I've been traveling around the Western and Ashanti regions a bit. Now, if you see the water bodies, we are not talking just about the brown color. So, the water itself is now so thick. In some places, the water is like cocoa. Now, you can't use this water for farming. You can't use this water for farming. It's impossible. You can't use it for farming. You can't use this water, when I talk about farming, I mean crop farming. You can't use this water also for fish farming. So it's a major blow to our agriculture, major blow to our agriculture. Then the small geography we learned in secondary school, middle and secondary school, taught us one thing. That if you don't have forests and so on, your rainfall pattern will change. And there are consequences when your rainfall patterns change. You see, I used to work in the Ministry of Fuel and Power. Some time ago, 1985-86, I used to work in the Ministry of Fuel and Power. One of the things that I learned was that Nkrumah's 7-year development plan, included the building of what is described as mini hydro projects. So all of these rivers and so on were to be dammed as sources of irrigation for agriculture, and dammed to produce electricity, to supplement electricity from Akosombo and Pong and so on. Mining has destroyed that capacity, the capacity to develop the mini hydro projects. That's a huge blow to all of us. You understand? So in talking about the repercussions, the consequences of unrestrained mining and so on, that's what we are talking about. Now you see, there are some people who say, oh, okay, after mining, you can do reclamation. That after mining, you can plant trees and so on. It is not that simple. Reclamation and reforestation does not restore lost biodiversity. Nowhere in the world has reclamation and reforestation restored to the fullest extent possible biodiversity. You understand? There's one story that I've been telling over and over the years. And it's the story about the construction of the Akosombo Dam. You know, as part of the construction of the Akosombo Dam, a presidential palace was to be built on top of the dam. It is there. If you go today to Akosombo, you see the presidential palace. The original location of this palace, had to change. Do you know why it changed? Because Professor Yensu went to Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and told Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah that, look here, where you are going to site the presidential palace, there's a particular plant there. That plant, there is the only place you can find it in the world, the whole world, is that small place in Akosombo. So it was as a result of the intervention of Professor Yensu that the location of the presidential palace was changed in order to save that plant that you couldn't find anywhere in the world but that particular location in Akosombo. So can you imagine the plant species we are destroying with this reckless mining? Can you imagine? Why? All of us, when we were young, when we felt sick, how were we treated? Plants, nunu, and so on. That's what our mothers boiled and gave to us. That's what they used to treat us, and so on. When we had ringworms and all, it was plants which were used. If we destroy the plants and so on, we lose an essential part of traditional medicine. We have set up a center for research into plant medicine at Mampong. Who is thinking about what plants we may research into and what plants are being destroyed and so on? Now, if you go to the mining areas, you'll be shocked at what is happening. Cocoa farms are being totally destroyed. Cocoa farms. Cassava farms. Cocoa yam farms. Food is being destroyed plantains and so on, palm oil, husband and palm, not palm oil, palm and so on. All of that are being destroyed. And we are sitting here shouting about planting for food and jobs. And then some people are busily destroying what has already been planted. But this slogan, planting for food and jobs, isn't it a very interesting slogan? What else is planting for? Or what else has planting been about all this time? I thought that since planting began, it has always been about creating, producing food and jobs. And planting has always been for food and jobs. Now all of a sudden it has become a slogan that we are throwing about and so on. But you are throwing about these slogans and the farms are being destroyed. Haphazardly, not systematically, haphazardly being destroyed. FBA, you know something? For me, what is even more shocking are the areas which are being attacked by these mining goons. Have you been to Chebi recently? I have been to Chebi. Right off the main street, they are digging. So you can see them, even in Chebi, Kibi, some people say Kibi, Chebi. The president's hometown. He goes there for funerals all the time. He's always there. Doesn't he see the people who are digging Chebi up? So it is everywhere. It is everywhere. And it is glaring and so on.
You see, just not you see even the Galamsey pits, not far away.
So they are not even hiding.
Yes.
They are not even hiding. Now, you know, Sana, I hear some of our friends and people say, oh, we succeeded in the first term. If we succeeded in fighting Galamsey in the first term, why are we still fighting Galamsey? The fact that we have relaunched the fight against Galamsey now, in the manner in which we have relaunched Galamsey, is the clearest indication that the first fight collapsed. That we didn't win the first fight, that we lost. Some interesting things have happened since the second phase was launched. Interesting things have happened. You see, we are talking about stakeholder consultation. Nice phrases put together and so on. I thought, until recently, that this government hated stakeholder consultations. You know why? You remember, during President Mills' tenure, when there were problems with the economy and so on, all the political parties and stakeholders were invited to Senche.
That was Mahama.
To Mahama's time, okay, fine. To go and try and build a consensus on how to handle the economy. Who boycotted it? Who boycotted that stakeholders consultation? And what was the reason? But today, the very people who boycotted that stakeholder consultation are calling for consultations. No problem. They may have had a change of heart. They may have seen something which they didn't see then and so on. So no problem. My major problem is this. That 4 years ago, we had stakeholder consultations. You remember those meetings which were championed by Kennedy Asigbe, is it his name? Ken Asigbe?
Yeah,
and so
Ken
on.
Asigbe, yeah.
Asigbe, and so on. All those consultations and so on, we've had them before. It didn't take us anywhere. So it is not those stakeholder consultations which will take us anywhere. We've had it before. It didn't work. My brother, listen to me carefully. I believe very, very strongly that if we want to fight against the menace of mining, we can. I have noticed that the president has changed the team which he mandated to fight against the menace of mining. The team he has in place now is led by an enthusiastic young man. No doubt at all about it. The team now is led by the Honorable Samuel Abu Chinapo. That should tell us something. That should tell us, at the minimum, that at least there's a certain loss of confidence in the old guards who tried and failed to deal with the problem. So we have this young, enthusiastic minister being charged with a responsibility which his seniors could not accomplish. What is the hope? What will change and so on? My brother, I insist that the only way there can be a change, the only way this young minister, this enthusiastic young minister and his team can succeed is if the president decides to put his full weight, not half weight, not three-quarter weight, not quarter weight, decides to put his full weight behind the machinery he has created for dealing with the problem. Because otherwise, there will be no solution and the problem would not be resolved. Why? Because all of us sitting in this studio know that the people involved in Galamsey and all the illegal aspects of mining, all the destructive aspects of mining and so on, are powerful people. Politically powerful, financially powerful, they are huge, they have muscles and so on. So how can the new minister succeed if he doesn't have the full weight of the president behind him? Again, it is important for us to understand that it just doesn't take the civil service apparatus to fight this problem. Master, listen. The ministry does not have the means to police the forest reserves. That must be the responsibility of the security services. The ministry does not have the capacity to gather intelligence on what is happening in the field and so on. That is the responsibility of the intelligence services and so on. So if the security services fail to give their full cooperation, 100% cooperation, this fight will not succeed. In spite of the enthusiasm of the minister, and in spite of stakeholder consultations and so on, it will not succeed. The judiciary is another instrument that has to lend its full weight to this fight. Because if people are arrested for breaking the law and they are taken to court and they are freed and so on, how do we win this struggle? So the judiciary also has to lend its full weight to this struggle, to this fight, for this fight to succeed. Above all, the citizenry, the people who live in and around the forest reserves and so on, must have a commitment to fighting against the menace of mining and so on. Look, I'm sure ABA Fuseni will remember. About 15, 20 years ago, the Ochehini made a profound statement. The Ochehini made a profound statement. What did the Ochehini say? The Ochehini told us that gold doesn't rust. So if we cannot exploit it for our benefit, leave it in the ground. So that future generations, when they find means of exploiting it without destroying the environment, when they find the means of mining gold in a manner which will be beneficial to us, they will mine it. That was a profound statement. But who listened to the Ochehini at the time? Who listened to him? The other thing that we have to remember is that gold is a non-renewable resource. Gold is a non-renewable resource. So as we dig it and take it away, it is gone forever. Today, we are sitting on gold. Look at the poverty levels around us, in spite of the fact that we have gold. Look at the poverty around us. So, if we continue like this, take the gold out, destroy our environment, not benefit from the extraction of gold and so on, can you imagine what will happen to our grandchildren and great-grandchildren 50 years from now, 100 years from now? What will happen to them? What their poverty levels will be and so on. Can you imagine? I don't want to imagine that scenario. It is too ghastly for me to imagine. It is frightening for me to imagine that future. We have a responsibility to protect ourselves today. To provide protection for ourselves today, which will lead to the maximization of the protection of generations yet unborn. That is the task before us. This is not a task for the New Patriotic Party. It is not a task for President Nana Akufo-Addo. It is not a task for Samuel Abu Jinapor. It is a task for all of Ghana and its people. And we must win this battle. Because if we fail to win this battle, the consequences will be disastrous for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pratt. And if you just join us, the matter of our talk shows, Alhaji Alhaji, we are live from the studios of Pan-African Television. We have about less than 20 minutes left. Before we move on we're moving on to the issue of the special prosecutor and Mr. Amidu's thoughts on him. But before we do that, Dr. Percy says the so-called fight against Galamsey started out as a huge PR gimmick, cooked up by the same media interests of Cabal that had been in the forefront of selling Denkande Akufo-Addo as champion of human rights, press freedom, rule of law, and due process. Above all, an incorruptible and competent person who protect the public purse. The clear purpose was to further burnish Nanado's credentials and hold him up as God's gift to our country. We know from our experience since 2016 what a huge fraud this has been on our people. Such was the giddiness at attending the PR. And subsequently, Nana Akufo-Addo, now president, will publicly state that he was taking his presidency on the fight against illegal mining and the wanton destruction of the environment and waters. Of course, this was all as the street will call it. The NPP used the so-called fight against Galamsey as cover-up to dislodge competition and gain monopoly control of small-scale mining to finance the party. Following a close shave in the 2020 presidential polls, involving the insertion of the military in the collation of the medal of voters and other extraordinary measures to steal a second term, our president and MPP have returned to the scene of their original crime. Of course, now as before, Nana Akufo-Addo plus the MPP can only proceed on the basis of insincerity and bad faith. That's coming from Dr. David Percy. And Hadi in Pig Farm says deployment of soldiers to the illegal mining sites won't yield the desired result. At least the activities of Operation Vanguard is still fresh in our minds. Until the chiefs, politicians, security corps, etc. involved in the act are named and shamed, arrested and punished, the fight against galamsey will remain a charade and a rhetoric. Though the lands minister means well, I dare say the fight is going to be tough unless he is able to deal with the real galamsey mafias who are in the same party with him. Allah save Mother Ghana. So that will be less than 5 minutes each to go on the topic of the special prosecutor. I'm sure there will be a lot more time to talk about that because the nomination is yet to be approved by the president. Alhaji, I'll start with you, and I'm hoping to be very brief.
He knows him better.
He knows him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, George.
Yeah,
Volunteer for us.
I think we've had a lecture from Comrade Mr. Pratt on the galamsey issues, but I think PFJ, Planting for Food and Jobs, is a deliberate, conscious government effort and policy to get people involved in agriculture and properly manage to ensure that it is an avenue or opportunity for job creation for the young people. It's business, agriculture as business, not normal farm, was the term for it, subsistence farming that we do just to eke out a living. It's a complete business that can be done. The government is directed efforts at that. So it's important. That the second aspect about the cyanide and mercury in our water bodies is right. But the issue is the government policy is you don't wash the minerals, okay, in the water body. Okay, that's when they are washing, that's where they use the mercury, cyanide, and coal. So the law, I was using 20 meters buffer, but Gabriela says it's about a kilometer, maybe. So you need to get somewhere beyond that to do the washing. So then you not have those things in the water bodies. Now let me come to the special prosecutor. I personally thought it was a good policy decision by the government. Then in opposition say we're going to have a czar to fight corruption and other illegal things. And so if we are getting the law, the constitutional provision, get a part of it to cede to an individual who is called special prosecutor and an office created for him to carry out activity, I think is a good thing. And then the new law is being so couched to protect that individual. I'm talking about 959 to protect that individual to be able to execute his mandate is a good thing. We started it with the appointment of the first president, the Honorable Martin Alamisi Kai Vance Midu, and we saw where personally I was one of the people that this is a crusader, anti-corruption crusader, with the many epistles is written, with the things is done, he's gone to courts to get some people prosecuted. With all as his part of his CV, I thought we were going in for serious business, but unfortunately, he didn't live up to expectation. I'm not one of those who believe there was interference in his job. I disagree absolutely, because he was given the freedom to work, he was given the resources and the manpower he needed to put together. He decided not to do, okay? He decided to be majoring on the minors and minoring on the majors, and then ultimately had a leeway to escape. Okay? When he said he did his assessment on the Ejapa, I could you see sitting here. I tell you, Senna, that the Ejapa thing is one of the best things that I think government is put in place. Ejapa. One of the best means to raise resources for the country without borrowing. If we implement it the way it ought to be done, it's a fantastic, brilliant idea. Yes, people have reservations with the presence of data bank therein, the presence of African Legal Associates or whatever, and the chief executive appoint. I ain't got no problem with that. If you have reservation, you are right to so do it. But beyond that, what is the thrust of the policy? What is it seeking to do? Have we studied it well? do that. If we had a Japan, Anglo Gold Ashanti wouldn't have gone down under in 2014 for Tunfor to cry. Okay? But these are serious national issues that I think we ought to look at. So when you're bringing somebody to be the special prosecutor, look, we need to look at the integrity of that individual. It's very important. Can he live up to the expectations or the challenges of the office? Has he acquitted himself over the years in his legal practice? Because the law says he should have a minimum of 12 years practice, right? So does Kisie Jabin meet that? And I'm one person who is admired lawyer Kisie Jabin from a distance. Okay? He's in academia and in industry as well. So by that I mean he's a lecturer in law and he's a practicing lawyer as well. Okay? So combining the two will make him more efficient in the practice of law or in his performance in the industry. And he's gathered over from what I've known. In fact, I was surprised when I saw his age because I've heard his name a long time. So between 16 to 18 years as a lawyer is actually a long time anyway. But, you know, I thought Kisie Jabin was an old guy. But first time I saw him, you know, I said, wow, your name seem older than you, the person. And now the age is put out there. I'm not one of those who think his age should be a barrier. In this country, we had a young guy, Juan Dabra, being the managing director of Barclays Bank. You remember Benjamin Dabra also. Then we had Ellis, vice chancellor of KNUST. Okay, young people. Okay, they lived up to expectation. So if Kisie Jabin is come there, let's see. Let's give him the mandate. That is, they have what it takes. Now, some have said he's a lawyer, a classmate. What? Martin is said so. That is classmate. You telling me Martin Amidu did not have classmates when he was appointed by the president? Huh? And didn't believe whether he had the capacity and the audacity to be able to prosecute people who will be found culpable in the corruption arena? Okay? And so, whether he has classmates, and again, Sana, I asked myself, does it mean if I represent a Medra in court, okay, as his defense attorney, and ultimately we lose the case and he's sentenced to death by hanging and he's so executed? Am I an accomplice? Okay, was I part of the scheme to murder because I was his liar? Let's be able to. It's a trade. Forgive my if I'm not getting the right choice, but it's a trade that they are practicing. That's what puts food on their table. He's a lawyer, okay, and he defends criminals and other things, whether it's a civil case or criminal case. That is his duty. Some are solicitors. They do legal advice, paper, and then give it up. Right?
Good. I'm hoping we'll have more time to talk about this.
So let me round it up. I think Martin Amidu has his right as a citizen, but he shouldn't be pontificating to telling us who the right person is to take the job.
Okay.
Once the Attorney General has recommended Kisie Jabin, okay, I believe he's looked at certain qualities. The President will also look at whether those qualities that he has will be able to help him to deliver on his job. Then the President will ultimately submit that name to Parliament to do what they ought to do. I pray, you know, he's the one that will be chosen and be able to act himself very well in that office to succeed for all of us to know that, yes, we mean business in the fight against corruption.
Thank you. When it comes to Parliament, Alhaji Alhaji will be there.
Yes.
Alhaji.
Yeah, I can tell you that I will make my voice heard if it comes to voting for Kisie Jabin, and I'm resolutely opposed. Yeah, but let me first and foremost clear some issues that he brought up to the effect that Martin Amidu was given every opportunity without any interference to do his job.
Yeah.
Respectfully, I disagree vehemently with you, and it's not true. He was not.
To the president.
In fact, the president himself interfered with Martin Amidu.
That's not interference.
Martin Amidu was proceeding when he was doing the corruption risk assessment on the Japa.
Yeah.
The president was out of the town and he told him to wait. He shouldn't take any action till he comes back. and meets him. That is interference. The man wants to proceed on a certain target. You ask him, it doesn't matter.
The president didn't ask him to.
I am saying that, let us assume without admitting that he himself decided to show it to him. He had no business telling the man to hold on until he comes. No. He has a right to carry on with the investigations at his own pace and at a time and space of his choosing. And worst of all, the president told him to stay his hands off Ken Ofori-Atta. Openly, this is Martin Amidu in his epistle, where he wrote the letter that he put in the public domain. He said the president himself told him he should stay his hands off Ken Ofori-Atta, his financial guru. He's untouchable. As far as this government is concerned, Ken Ofori-Atta is untouchable. And he demonstrated it in the Japan deal. Okay? Martin Amidu for a long time was given a hen coop to work from home. He himself described it where he was put as a hen coop. The whole office of special prosecutor, 3-bedroom house that he was put in to work with his staff. Okay? The budget that they gave him for his first budget, even in Parliament, when Parliament did the allocation, we felt it was grossly inadequate. He could not even assess 1/4 of that budget at the end of the budget cycle when we were reviewing the budget the next year. So it is not true. He had no resources. So let it be there. But let me say from the onset, Senna, that you see, President Akufo-Addo, I will say it without any iota of doubt, he has no iota of commitment to fight corruption. In fact, at the end of his tenure, it was corruption that was fighting Nana Akufo-Addo and his government. And I'll tell you the litany of all corruption cases that were mentioned, from his financial wizard's own Ken Bond scandal, all the way you can name. Senna, if you want to name the scandals here, we'll name it till this program is ended. Okay? He hasn't fought one single one. In fact, there have been instances where corruption allegations were made not by people suspected to be NDC. If you look at Ghana Cylinder, for instance, those making the allegations of corruption against the CEO were board members appointed by Nana Akufo-Addo himself. Wait, I'm giving you an example. Board members. Instead of allowing investigation to continue, the president dismissed all the board members who were making the allegation against the CEO. You see the board members who are saying that the CEO is corrupt and needs to be investigated. The president rather dismisses the board members and leaves the person against whom allegations of corruption are made. Throughout his 4 years, he hasn't investigated or caused to be investigated and prosecuted one person. National Youth Authority, even when it was proven. And he himself had to dismiss he just asked him to go home. Is that fighting corruption? So I said that up in this show that the president is not committed to the fight against corruption. Look, he only saw in Matthew Amidu. In fact, the appraisal that he made, and it was a sad miscalculation. He misconceived Amidu as having a grudge with the NDC and President Mama, and therefore fit to be used as a prosecutor to go after the NDC. That was a calculation he had in mind. He didn't know Martin Amidu very well. That this was a very principled man. You can't bend. You can't bend him. And when he decides that he's going to take up on the matter, you can't take him away from it. And it came to pass when Martin Amidu started his corruption risk assessment on a Japa, and he saw that Ken Ofori-Atta, Gabi Ochidagu, he mentioned all of them were all candidates for courts, for prosecution. And these are people you can't touch while Nana Akufo-Addo is president. They are untouchables. They are above the law. You cannot touch them. And in the corruption risk assessment, it came out clearly that, number one, procurement infractions were occurred. How did African Legal Associates own and control? Martin Amidu discussed it as the alter ego. That is in a legal term, the primus inter pares, the owner of that entity, Gabriel Ochidagu. How did African Legal Associates come to take over the legal decision for Japan?
Well, Honorable, unfortunately,
what procurement measure was used? We have a procurement law in this country that before you give an entity the opportunity to exercise that control over those resources, you must go through the procurement process. What procurement process was to get African legal associates?
Unfortunately, I have to stop you here.
I'm just starting.
Senator, I have already.
Senator, give me a few minutes because
I have already told you that I have time.
Senator,
so
please, I'm not even touch on Kisi Ajabi. Who is Kisi Ajabi? What pedigree does he bring?
Okay.
Because of his role in Ejapa and because of his role with African Legal Associates and others, you can see that he. And in fact, if you put the question to Ghanaians, who is Kisi Ajabi? Ghanaians will even know who he is. Because of his substandard, low quality personality. He's not cut. And I'm indicating to you that the person who must be a special prosecutor must come with a certain pedigree, a certain stature, a certain experience, a certain stance of independence where nobody can touch him. He is a poodle. He is a poodle of Gabi Ochildaku and Ken Oforiatta. Okay? He is a surrogate. He's so slavishly subservient that if you make him the special prosecutor, forget about fighting corruption.
Okay.
He can only go after those, maybe the MPP earmarks in the NDC as people they should go for. But he can never. For instance, like Aminu has found out some areas for prosecution with Ejapa. Do you think that as a Ejapa lawyer, he will come back and take the matter up?
Okay.
He's caught squarely. He's caught squarely in the conflict of interest.
Alhaji,
so it is one more attempt to appoint. I am even asking the question. Well, I haven't seen the president send that appointment to Parliament yet. I don't know where the appointment. And so, because he has not gotten there, I will advise the president not to even go there at all. He shouldn't attempt. He shouldn't go there at all.
Alhaji, thank you.
Because this man is grossly incompetent to handle it. This is no one more appointment you should give to your classmate or people of your friends and family, classmate, schoolmate, sort of thing. This is the office of the special prosecutor is a very important institution in the fight against corruption. Knowing how much we lose in corruption.
This is a message from a former member of parliament for Time, Kwesi Ajiman Tutu, who says, I get confused when people sit in radio and television stations touting the benefits of planting for food and jobs. What has changed? Apart from the supply of fertilizer, agriculture remained the same. The same reliance on rain-fed agriculture with these same old tools. No dry season farming. Okay, they should keep on singing the praises. Any unfortunate trip in the rain pattern will expose these con men. You say, Gabriela.
I'll be very brief on this Kisi Ajabi issue. I don't know him personally, but listening to people who know him, read his profile, and I heard Dr. Ayeni mention that he worked with him before. He was one of his juniors in his chambers. He sounds like he's a brilliant chap. The issue that I think is making the rounds is about whether he'll be indeed independent in that office. Because first of all, he happens to be the classmate of the person who nominated him, the Attorney General. It is not immaterial, because if he has to prosecute government folks, and the Attorney General has to come before him and defend. So that issue is there, and I think that it is a sound argument. The other issue also is about his interest in the Ejapa. I heard through the grapevine that a chamber that he works with had some dealing with White and Chains or some other legal firm, which was partnered with African Legal Associates on the Ejapa deal. So there's a thread weaving through them. And we know very well the situation of Ejapa. We know that the Office of Special Prosecutor did conduct a corruption risk assessment on it, for which that office was heavily lauded for that initiative. And I know that currently there are some institutions that have adopted that methodology as well, to have a corruption risk assessment attached to contract dealings. So it was a novel novelty on his part, not just as Martin Amidu, but the Office of Special Prosecutor. And so we know there's an issue of Ejapa hanging in that office. And obviously this man is connected to Ejapa. He's also connected to Mr. Gabriel Chedakun, who is the lead legal person of Africa Legal Associates. But I think that going through vetting, we'll hear his responses on some of these issues, and then if the people think that he's right for the job, I personally, it's for others to decide. But I have a bit of an issue with this business of official letters leaking in public domain before they get to their recipient. The person was nominated to be special prosecutor, and then the thing was on social media.
No, like, went to this radio station, Asasi Radio.
Maybe they're the ones who started circulating it.
Yes.
So
it's a propaganda thing.
Before it gets to the NADO's office, not even like 24 hours or that same day, you know, the letter is on social.
They intercept.
So it's so easy for people to get the intercepting official documentation.
This was
Everything is interceptable. Something should be kept private, and then the House of President will respond and say we have received a nomination of so and so, but don't nominate and then you throw it out. Now, all those who don't know much about this man, because of the chatter conversations going around the public domain, are going to hear all kinds of things. And even before the man goes through vetting and sees that he was probably his quality material, some of them you would have polluted their minds already because of the conversations you allowed to go on.
Nabella, thank you. Okay, so this is a message directly to Mr. Pratt. I apologize, but
before you go to Mr. Pratt, Senator, I just wanted to remind him that he's portraying as if NDC people are opposed. Even Honorable Kennedy Japan,
no,
who is a leading member, of the NPP, has said so many things. He said that he cannot be.
Dr. David Percy says I should read this to you. He said, this is to my brother Kwesi Pratt. The president has put the energetic Abujinapo to the head to head a so-called fight against Galamsey, knowing that they will be consumed by it. Meaning, Abujinapo can be sacrificed now without threatening the MPP's core account base, he says. Mr. Pratt.
Well, I mean, like others, I don't know this gentleman who has not as yet been formally nominated. What I think is happening is that they're flying a kite, which happens in situations like this, where the appointing authority is not so sure what the public reaction would be. They release the information piecemeal and sit back and watch what the public reaction would be and see whether they can manage it or they cannot manage it. So from where I sit, what is happening is that a kite is being flown, and that kite is being flown as part of the decision-making process. Whatever happens at the end, this gentleman has to go through parliamentary vetting. And that is where I am most worried. Because if you look at the caliber of people who have been approved by Parliament, some of them to serve as ministers, I cannot say that there's anybody in Ghana who cannot pass through vetting and get parliamentary approval. I'm beginning to suspect. I am beginning to suspect that these days, the way things are going, even if you caught a plain-faced idiot, he might get parliamentary approval.
They did a thorough and diligent work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that should end the show for today. I'd like to say a big thank you to you for making time to join us. Let me acknowledge some of the radio stations that broadcasted us live. A big thank you to our friends in the Volta region, Shine FM, Sela Radio. We also had Global FM. And then we had Nyawasi Radio all the way in Ketekrachi, that's in the OT region. We have several other radio stations in the north, Matambo Radio, Diamond FM. We have Zebs FM in Zebila. We have Radio Kitawong in Saboba, among several others. Skip FM and Benya FM are in Cape Coast. A big thank you to all of them. We are live in Accra on Ahunto 92.3 FM. A big thank you to them, and a big thank you to Volta One TV. They are the other television station that is carrying us live. A big thank you to all of you. We are back same time next week with another edition of the show. My name is Senna Numbo from the crew here at Pan African Television, my producer Tijani, and we wish you the best of the rest of the weekend and enjoy your week. Have a fruitful week and meet us here same time. Thank you for your time.
The nation's found out.